So I feel like this is a city that everyone else has been to except me, and I was only able to get here for 2.5 days, and I lost half a day due to a personal emergency. So I feel like this travel blog is going to be cliches for days with my recommendations that everyone already knows. But nevertheless, welcome to Dublin. Now, I'm only in Dublin for 2 days, and this is without a doubt the least prepared I've been for one of these videos. Usually I like to put 2 weeks worth of effort into researching all the places I want to see, all the things I want to do, but because this was a very last minute trip, I've only had about 2 days, and I think I'm only going to scratch the surface with this video of all the things I'm going to show you, and not going to be able to highlight the usual hidden gems that I like to find in a place, but I guess that just means I'll have to come back for another visit. So where I am now, this park is called Merrion Square, and I thought this would be a nice place to start my trip because this is home to the Oscar Wilde Memorial in Dublin. In fact, he was born just up over the road in this area, and there's a blue plaque to highlight where he was born. And as an LGBT person, I thought this would be a great place to see, just to start off my visit. Now, one of the must-see things in Dublin, which I probably don't even need to tell you about, is the Guinness Storehouse Tour. Now, this is the original brewery for Guinness, and on this tour you can learn all about the history of the company, how it was created, how it's made, how it was advertised, how it was transported around the world. There's taste testing rooms, and then at the end of the tour you'll get to the Gravity Bar, which gives you one of the best views in Dublin. Now, Dublin isn't a city that has a lot of tall buildings, but when you get to the top of the brewery, without a doubt, this is one of the best views of the city. And then you can enjoy a free pint of Guinness, which you get with your ticket of the tour, and you can then just relax and take in the views. So where I'm standing now is the beautiful courtyard of Dublin Castle. Now, a castle has stood here since around the 13th century, and until 1922 it was the seat of the British administration in Ireland. But now it's a government complex. It hosts the inaugurations of all the Irish presidents and various state receptions. And during big vote announcements, such as the recent referendums on same-sex marriage and abortion in Ireland, usually many crowds gather here to celebrate those announcements. Now, you can go have a tour of the various chambers of the castle, and then outside there's a beautiful garden with lots of resting spaces, and I'm sure in the summer it's... In the centre of Dublin, you'll
find Trinity College, and a tour of its library is a must-do. Here you can see the Book of Kells, which is a 1200-year-old ancient gospel. And in the long room, which is over 300 years old, you'll find one of the last remaining 1916 proclamations of the Irish Republic, and the 15th century Trinity harp, which the Irish coat of arms is based on.
So when I was asking people for recommendations on what to do in Dublin, something that always came up was to get outside of the city and see some of the coastal towns and trails that surround the area. So where I am now at the moment is a town called Greystone, and there is a coastal cliff path that you can follow from this town to the town of Bray, and it's actually a very popular tourist route. So if you come here, it's only a 40-minute train ride from the city centre, and you'll actually find there's lots of ramblers and tourists doing this trail, and it's got some beautiful scenery, I've got to say. So that's definitely something I would recommend if you're coming.
Of course, no trip to Dublin is complete without visiting Temple Bar, which is Dublin's main nightlife area and is full of tourists both night and day. The area isn't named from the Temple Bar pub, but is actually believed to be named from London's own Temple Bar district, and strolling around Dublin, it's impossible to miss Temple Bar.
Now I'm just about to head off to the airport back to London, but I thought I had 1 more hour to kill, so I thought the last thing I could do was take a stroll here in St. Stephen's Green. Now this is a park right in the middle of the city, and I learned in the Guinness Brewery tour that this park was actually donated to Dublin by the Guinness family. And this is a park where the people of Dublin seem to use it to get from point A to B. There's so many people here, it's by no means a quiet park. And I actually got told when I was asking for recommendations that if you come here, it's a perfect place to people watch and then just lose a few hours just relaxing here. And I get it, it's a really beautiful park. So this was my very rushed trip to Dublin. I think I definitely have to come back in the future to find the hidden gems and stuff I couldn't do this time. Biggest takeaway and advice I can give is that this is a very expensive city. For a normal city, like for example when I was in Tokyo, you would pay about 70-80 pounds for a room per night. In Dublin, you're spending minimum 140 pounds, so double that for a room a night. And that's because my friend told me it's because Dublin is kind of the Silicon Valley of Europe, where you have all these high-tech companies moving in here, bringing their employees, and they have that budget to spend that money, which is why it can cost an arm and a leg to be here. And then I'm here alone, so that's also another reason why it's so expensive. If you're a solo traveler, it's expensive. So if you can come here, try and come in a big group if you can, which is definitely what I'm going to try to do next time. But other than that, I've had a really fun time here, and yeah, I definitely plan to come back in the future.